Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Paint With Me Live. My name is Brittany Lewis. I'm a professional graphic designer and illustrator, and Sundays is the day that I work on my dream project, the Cosmic Gateway's Tarot. So this week we are continuing with the Four of Wands from this project. But before we get started, if you would like to support me in any way, shape, or form, one of the quickest, easiest, and fastest, and one of the most meaningful ways you can do that on this particular channel is to hit the like button. That helps me out so much. It lets YouTube know that you enjoy my content and would like to see more live creation videos, and it lets them know that you think other people would like it as well. Another way that you can support me is by hitting the subscribe button if you have not already. I do have a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers, so help me out with that. We're almost there. I think we're at 797 at this time, so thank you so much to everyone who's been here for years, who's new here, everyone who is just supporting this channel. Hey TN lady, thank you so much for joining me. Another way you can support me is by purchasing merchandise and artwork in my shop. So if you like the art that I create, all of that will be linked down in the description below. I do a little happy dance every time I get an order and everything except canvas prints ship out next day. T-shirts also take it like one extra day, but everything else ships out next day. So if you would like to get some jump on the holiday season or anything like that, all of the links for all of that will be down in the description below. So I hope you guys are having a great week. I'm a little bit I'm not sluggish, but I'm just tired. This week for me has been one of the longest weeks I've had in a very long time. I've just been really busy, just incredibly busy, so much so that it's helped me sort of focus and kind of cut things off that did not serve or move me forward in any meaningful way. It's just been one of those weeks where I just want to handle business and go to bed, right? But in that, I've had some great victories this week. So we've gotten a lot done. I've actually started to work on some things outside of the tarot deck. Of course, we talked a little bit about this, or have talked about it throughout the past weeks. And so just having a moment to sort of just work on something else, I feel like is helping me with the Cosmic Gateway's Tarot, because I get a chance to sort of look at something else so that when I come back to this project, it's like I'm coming back with fresh eyes. So with that in mind, I have not worked on this particular image since Wednesday. And I had to remember if I had streamed Wednesday. It's just been one of those kinds of weeks. I was like, did I work on this? But yes, I did. So in case you missed it, every Wednesday I stream for Bring Your Own Project Live, which is where we just kind of co-work and draw and study or whatever it is that you are doing together while we listen to music. So I did make some progress on this particular image this past Wednesday, so I'm really proud of that. I have not looked at this since Wednesday, so I'm looking at it with fresh eyes with you guys. What did I do? I worked on the face of our male character, and looking at it, there are a couple of tweaks that I would like to make, so we'll do that here. I also worked a little bit more on the canopy. Now up close, it looks like a whole bunch of like random squiggles and things like that. But if I zoom out, it's giving it's giving a little bit of what I'm going for, which is the leaves sort of peeking through this sheer canopy. So we'll tighten that up as time goes. I don't think we're going to work on that today. That seems like a good Wednesday stream activity. All of the small details and things that I'll work on just sort of as a part of the background, because it's just, I don't have to talk through it, right? So it's easier for me to get a lot of that done. But we will continue to work on our figures, because figures are one of the things that I absolutely love. And I want to show you guys something. So again, I've been working on other work, and you will hear me say that Procreate is one of those programs. Procreate, for those of you who are not familiar, is a program that's available on iPad that is hugely popular with digital artists. I only use it for sketching. I have not done like a complete illustration in it. But last night I sat down and I was like, you know what, because I'm working on something, right? I was like, well, let me see if I still got it. You know what I mean? I don't know why. Sometimes I get in my head and I'm like, I don't know if I still have it. But I have a reference that I had downloaded from Pexels, and you guys will hear me mention Pexels a lot. So if you are looking for references as an artist, things to draw, whether you're a tattoo artist or digital artist or illustrator, painter, any of those things, graphic designer as well, photographer, all of that, Pexels is a great resource, because all of the images on Pexels are royalty free, meaning that you can use them however which way you would like. And I think for some, you just have to give attribution to the photographer. For others, that is not even necessary. So when I wrote my first book in 2021 and published that, I published it sort of like a workbook. And so a lot of the images in that book that I did, some of the ones that I didn't take myself came from Pixels. And then at the back of the book, of course, there's a bibliography where I give each photographer credit. So I say all that to say, I downloaded an image because I needed a face for a side mission project that I was working on. And again, Procreate is one of those things that I only sketch in. So I would like to show you guys the sketch that I did. I have not done any like portraiture work in a really long time, but I'm really proud of it. Hopefully it comes through. So I hope y'all can see that. I'm real proud of it. I was like, okay, go ahead, Britt. I don't know why I'll be forgetting, right? But I'm gonna hold it up just a little bit longer. Hopefully it'll focus and pick it up. I don't know if it will or not. There it is. So this is my reference, and I wanted to draw the face as it was in the photograph so that I could go ahead and just kind of study the face. But this face is something that I'll be tweaking and like modifying and adding other things to. I just wanted to see if I could, so I had threw on Dark Winds on Netflix, which is, I think it's an AMC show, but they've been streaming it on Netflix for the last few seasons, and they released season 3. So I just had that on. I was just sitting down decompressing and drawing. Right, so that's something I love to do. Again, I only use Procreate for sketching. One of these days I will sit down and like do a colored illustration. I have a hard time with it because with Clip Studio I'm used to sort of being able to smudge and do different things and different techniques. I just know how to do it, and so I have not learned how to do that and translate it into Procreate just yet. So it's just a matter of me having a little bit of patience with myself. But I was so proud. I was like, go ahead. And the way that I did it was the way that I learned in school. So I was just kind of trying that out. Typically with portraits, if I'm drawing them like right out, I'll have a couple of different ways to do it. Just kind of depends on how I want to approach it. Usually I'll draw the eyes first, because the eyes are my unit of measurement. And I feel like with a portrait, you can get a whole lot of things wrong with a portrait, but if you have the eyes right, then it'll usually read exactly it'll read like our brains will interpret it as whoever it is supposed to be. So I generally start with eyes. But in this case, I did a technique where instead of drawing out the details, I started by drawing in shapes. And maybe I'll show y'all how that looks. Let me show you. Or you know what? Well, maybe I'll do a video about it. But basically what you do is you sort of draw in shadows for the eye sockets, right? You do a shadow for the nose and you do a shadow for the chin. And then from there, you begin to add different shadows and values within that space so that you can begin to create the eyes, the nose, and so on and so forth. So details you're sort of working and building up to details. So that was so much fun. It was so relaxing to do, and I needed it. It was like I just need this to be a very relaxing experience. And thankfully it really was. I love drawing faces. I don't really care. To me, I don't have a preference. I remember when I used to do the comic book conventions, because I would have so much different kinds of art. I would have art that would be digital illustrations. I would have ink illustrations, and a lot of times I would have prints of my acrylic paintings. What would happen is I would have people who would come and ask me, well, which do you prefer? I don't think I have a preference. I think just so long as I'm able to draw a face, so long as I'm able to sort of capture someone's likeness, I don't care how I do it. I don't necessarily have a preference. Now, in recent years, I have, of course, leaned into digital much more than my traditional mediums, but that's really because it's less mess. So I could sit at my desk or at the TV or wherever I was and draw while I was watching TV, as opposed to having to set up my easel or my drawing. I have a larger easel where I paint, and I have a table easel where I can set up like paper and things like that, and then I have to bring out water and inks and brushes and all of the things, and then you have to clean that mess up. Right? So it does become much easier to just kind of sit down at the computer or at the couch or wherever I am just to draw. So I have leaned personally so much more into digital. But I think the common misconception is that digital artists cannot draw, but you have to be able to draw. You have to have some kind of skill in order to draw digitally, right? It does translate a little bit. Now, the feel and the tactile feel of pencil to paper is different from the feel of stylus to screen. But, you have to have some kind of skill set. So I was like, I guess, and even though that was a digital sketch yesterday, it still had the sort of paper-like feel. I was using a medium very similar to a traditional pencil. And so being able to do that and draw in that way and create something that was the way I wanted it to be felt really good. It was nice. It was like a good, what is it, dopamine hit. That was nice. It felt great. I was like, okay. And then it didn't take long. I was like, come on now. I'm saying all this because this week is one of those, aside from being busy, just sort of handling business, taking care of, all of my responsibilities. I have been in my head so much about like my skill set and my ability to create. And I don't know why. I don't know. Sometimes I guess we go through that. I think a lot of times that's sort of linked to comparing ourselves to others. So as I am learning new skills, sometimes I fall victim to, or I put myself in a position where I am comparing my skill set. I am comparing sort of where I am in this journey to other people. And I think doing that sort of creates a recipe for anxiety, right? It creates a recipe for self-doubt and all of those kinds of things. So that's been something I've been, dealing with and sort of navigating this week, as well as, again, the other things. So I needed to prove to myself that, that I still got it a little bit. So anyhow, what I'm doing on this particular image is I noticed that with his jaw, I didn't necessarily like how it protruded, where it protruded. So I wanted to take that down. So I just used the eraser to take it down. I'm not too much concerned about messing up the shape of this because we haven't done much to it. So I could always just backtrack and undo if I feel like I didn't do quite the right thing. But I think overall, if I zoom out to this, the only thing I did not also like about his face was the imbalance of color. So of course his nose is very light, but if I were to go up to the reference, so is sort of the top of his head and a little bit of his cheeks. So I want to kind of spread that lightness out to different areas such as this. We'll just kind of brighten it up just a bit. It doesn't necessarily have to be extremely strong, but I do want it to relate to our reference because the light source is coming from above. So this is going to bring them out of that canopy. It's going to push everything behind them. And then it'll make it so that it doesn't look like they're standing underneath it, which is exactly what I want because everything underneath it is relatively dark. And that's not necessarily what I want for these particular characters. So we want to make sure I am following sort of the roadmap of this reference, and then we'll just tweak it as we go. So again, I hope you guys are having a great week this week. It's been I haven't been able to figure out which way is up which way is up this week. So I'm really happy to be able to have the time to set aside time to be able to work on my dream project. I will say though, anytime I have a week like this where it's really busy, I think or anytime I'm super like overwhelmed with life just in general, one of the things that I can say I truly take away from it is it becomes very abundantly clear what is no longer serving you, who is no longer serving you, not necessarily in a transactional way, but who is no longer sort of adding value to your life in a meaningful way. What situations are no longer adding value to your life in a very meaningful way. And so it becomes very easy to let those things go because we don't have time for shenanigans, right? Especially if you have a whole lot of life going on. Anytime that you're doing that and you're sort of working through your priorities and prioritizing your own well-being, right? And then the well-being of your loved ones, your business, or whatever it is that you're working on or working through. Anytime you have that kind of situation, it becomes real easy, especially as you get older. It becomes a whole lot easier to say, you know what, this thing I need to let go because it's not helping right now. I just don't need it. I just don't need it in my life right now. And so you move on. So that's been the blessing. I feel like every experience contains a lesson and or a blessing. Sometimes that blessing comes through the lesson, and sometimes you have to be just aware enough of yourself, aware enough or sort of have the desire to move forward in a positive way in order to see those things, right? A little bit of self-awareness goes a long way with that. And so even if it's overwhelming, even if you get to a point where You don't know which way is up, and not, I haven't had. I'm not gonna say anything's been bad because everything's been great. It's just been a lot of great at one time, right? It's been a lot happening at one time, but sometimes it doesn't feel great. Sometimes we have these situations where we just have a lot to sort through. We have a lot of things that we have to sort of figure out for ourselves, for our families, for our households, and whatever other responsibilities we have. And then life will throw you a curveball or a situation or a person or whatever the case is. And you're just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this right now. And you don't. You don't have to. You don't want to, and you certainly do not have to. And so there's strength in that. And so that happens. That's a part of life. But again, I had a pretty great week overall. We have been just sort of trying out new things. Part of what I do at home is, of course, helping my son grow, helping myself grow, and just sort of moving and evolving as an artist, as a parent, as a wife, and all of that. And so, every experience comes with a lesson and a blessing. It just kind of depends on your perspective of that experience. So, as I am working on this, what I'm doing, just to sort of backtrack to this illustration, I'm just sort of adding light. Typically, what I'll do when I'm sort of approaching, especially people, is I'll kind of focus on the shadows and then I'll begin to add light. I did this backwards, so I'm adding sort of the highlights because I know that if I'm looking at the hand of our 3D model, there's a lot of light at the top of his hand. So I want to make sure that I capture that right so that I can get that feeling of, get things looking the way that I want it to look. So I'm adding sort of the highlight from his face. That way everything matches. I don't have to go and color pick from like a different skin tone reference or anything like that. We've figured all of this out in terms of the value scale in his face. So I'm just able to pull those colors. And then from here, I will add shadow where I need to. So I'm going to turn off the sketch just so I can kind of see what the shadow colors are. I can grab those shadow colors. I'll grab this here. And then I'll go back and turn it back on just so I can kind of see where things are, right? So yeah, for my fellow artists out there, I hope you guys are still creating. I know it's been a tough year for a lot of people this year, but something else that happened that was great. I got my guidebook from the Guild. So just in case you guys are looking to become artists to sell your artwork, whether that's at a convention, whether that is for clientele, whatever the case is, the Graphic Artists Guild does an excellent job. And that's not me advertising, no longer the rep for anything like that, so I don't have anything to gain or to lose by sharing this information, but I think it's helpful. So I think that you guys who are sort of working in the creative field, I think this is just something you should look into. So a lot of the hiccups that we face, a lot of artists face, is learning how to price your work and also learning how to navigate sort of contracts, right? So that was one of the big ones that I struggled with for many years, having a solid contract, but also pricing for profit, and also pricing based on my skill and my expertise. So the Guild comes out with the handbook like every 2 years, and in order to create this handbook, they survey artists, whether that's graphic designers or illustrators. I think they even do textile artists, just the whole sort of gambit of creative professionals. And they ask questions about how much you charge for different things, how do you charge, different rates and whatnot. And so every couple of years they put out a handbook, and so this year's handbook came. Super excited about this. I was not expecting to get this week, so it came. It looks like this, and guess whose name is in it? My name is in it, so that's pretty cool. And I have not had the opportunity to look through this one yet. I usually use there's a one that came out a couple years ago that I use, so I was really interested to see how the two stack up with each other in terms of the rates and whatnot. But that is a great and huge resource, and for those of you who may just be listening, that is called the handbook Pricing and Ethical Guide, or Handbook of Pricing and Ethical Guidelines by the Graphic Artists Guild. I have 3 now. So I had one from like 2013, 2015, something like that. Then I had the one prior to this one, and then this new one just came out. That one has been a sort of a lifesaver in terms of figuring out pricing that's fair, right? And by fair, I mean that because people are sort of interviewed for it, and they're answering surveys for how much they charge for their services, it's easy for me to go in and say, okay, I have a book cover maybe this is my first book cover. I have no idea how to price this. Now, in this book cover, they're going to ask me to do the illustration and the graphic design of it. So let me go and see how much that usually that range usually is, and then I can set up my pricing based on that factor as a huge factor, but also just sort of based on my own needs and how long it'll take, and whatever else comes with pricing your artwork. And so all of this broken down really, really well. So yeah, but we've been moving. We've been moving and shaking this week. It's been a really, really great week, and that was a nice surprise to get as a package this week. So if you are interested in learning about pricing and especially with contracts, that one is a great one to look into. Now, contracts are important because a lot of times, especially if you're starting out as an artist and you're just now beginning to work with other people to do projects for other people outside of your own sort of personal projects, what will happen is I ain't gonna say we. I'll speak to my own experience. What happened with me was I was working within two fields, right? So as a freelancer, I was either painting portraits, which of course is my favorite. So that's non-commercial. It's really just pretty much upfront. This is what I want to do. I take a deposit, present the portrait, and then I'll get the thing. That's always been a thing, right? But the other part of that is that I would also offer graphic design. So that's sort of the graphic design process of it. And so what would happen is early for me, I was extremely uncomfortable talking about money when it came to my services. I was also extremely uncomfortable with presenting a contract, and it took me many years of sort of working as a freelancer to start to implement contracts. And it was just really a thing where I had a new client. I was like, okay, new client, you're gonna have to sign this piece of paper and do these steps. But all of that sort of came from trial and error and sort of bumping my head and making mistakes and all of those things as a freelancer, and as I was sort of learning the business of being a creative. It's not something that is talked about often together. A lot of the times we'll see people that only talk about the creative aspect of creating art, or we'll have people that are only talking about business, not necessarily related to art. So there's always, to me right now anyway, there's a little bit of a disconnect and a lack of information when it comes to both, right? So a lot of it I had to learn on my own. Of course, I was working prior to that in a environment where I didn't have to worry about it, right? So when I was working professionally in an office setting, they took care of all of that. All I had to do was create, right? So it took me some doing, and it took me some learning, and it took me some not getting paid. Hey, Draw Sketchbook, so happy to see you. It took me a whole lot of not getting paid to sort of learn what works and what doesn't work. I only had two people not pay me, just outright not pay me, and that those two people ironically were people that I knew. So I have a thing about like working with people who I know, right? Because oftentimes people that you know, especially from like high school and things like that, they don't necessarily value the work the same as someone who doesn't know you. And it's really ironic. I don't know why it works that way, but that happened. And so after those two instances, I had a couple of other just really challenging clients. You start to reevaluate what you're doing, what's not working, and what needs to change. So of course, after having those people who didn't pay me, or I would have like a lady I worked with at my last design job. She worked in a different area of the company I worked for. I was doing a logo for her. I think she was baking or something like that. And at that time, I did not limit revisions. I didn't even think to. It didn't cross my mind because most people just change a couple things and then we're done. But this lady had me drawing so many. I will say she had me drawing. I had myself drawing because I didn't have this sort of boundary set in place to say, okay, we're only going to do this many revisions. And beyond that, we're going to have a conversation and some money involved for us to move forward. And that sort of change came from that experience. She had me draw this same logo, and the logo was the idea was solid, but a lot of the times you'll run into clients, especially if you're not charging a whole lot, who do not necessarily value your expertise. They have something that they want in mind, and they're not open to suggestion, right? So she had me draw that logo so many doggone times, and then he got to the point where she was like, you know what, maybe I'm gonna wait. And I'm like, all this work, one, I'm not making no money because I didn't make hardly anything on that project, and two, we're doing a lot of work. Right? So from that experience, you kind of learn like, I'm not gonna do that again. So you start to change and create systems for yourself to make things better. So from there, I changed a lot. I don't think I went up on the pricing just yet, but I did change the way that I handle revisions. So at this point in time, of course, I charge a whole lot more for a logo and branding suite and all of that. But the way that I work currently, based on that experience, it all came from that particular experience. I will, depending on the package, so I have different packages that I have set up for my clients, right? Depending on the package that they create, they'll get so many design options, right? With that, I already know that I'm interpreting their vision. So I'm interpreting the conversation that we have based on the references that they send, based on their goals, based on the things that they like, based on whatever we talk about. I create these designs, right? Now, I know going in that there is a likelihood that something is going to need to be changed. That's just part of the process. So I know a lot of designers and a lot of illustrators hate revisions. I used to hate revisions because I was doing so many of them without sort of, again, the boundaries set in place, the system set in place, right? So if you go into it knowing that there's going to be a revision, you go into it fully transparent about the process before you even begin to work. You have your contracts in place, all of that. So I'll do a certain number of designs for my clients. They'll come back, they'll say, okay, I like this one. This is the one I want to build on. From there, they have a certain number of rounds of revisions. Now, for me, just again, based on trial and error and sort of going through so many different projects with so many different clients, I used to design and I would present the final design outright because I'm so confident, that's pretty much what it was. Like, I'm so confident that I'm going to present this. And more often than not, I would have to redo that design. So I broke down what it is that I was actually doing. For everything that I do, I create a sketch. Point blank, period. It doesn't matter what it is that I'm doing. I'm always creating a sketch. And I started to realize that I spend most of my time in that sketching phase. So, as a part of my process, the client must approve the sketch before we move on, right? It saves me so much of a headache because that means that they're aware of where this design is going. And once they approve that and they sign it off, they say, okay, this is it. They make whatever changes they need to make. This is what I want to do. All of that's taken care of. Then we move into the rendering and the coloring and we make changes from there. Generally, by the time I get to rendering, there's only a few changes and they're really quick to do. For example, if I had, going back to the lady with the a million revisions, she had a certain color palette that she wanted to work with. In my humble opinion, the color palette didn't necessarily work, but this is what she wanted, so we were going to go with it. So I would arrange the colors in a way that made sense or made it look less tacky, right? So it made it look a little more cohesive, a little more professional. But in her mind, she wanted it to look a certain kind of way. But because she had approved the sketch, it was really easy for me to say, okay, well, she wants the apron top pink. She wants this orange. It was so much. It was a lot. But it's easier to do that once she approves the sketch. So I do that for everything. I don't care if I'm doing a book cover. I don't care if it's a children's book. I don't care if it is a logo. I don't care how simple the client perceives it to be. My first thing that I'm going to do, because I'm going to do it anyway, the first thing that I do and have my clients approve is the sketch. From there, they make whatever revisions need to be made. But by the time we get to rendering, all of those kinks are worked out. But all of that, again, came from, trial and error. Just sort of bumping my head, doing things, having clients that I didn't necessarily like. But what I will say, the most difficult clients always sort of pushed my business forward because I learned the most from them, right? So having a book like the Handbook of Ethical Pricing and Ethical Guidelines, I don't think they go into personal experiences, right? But it does sort of highlight how much people charge for revisions, how much people charge for page rates when it comes to children's books, how much people charge for patterns, how much people license their artwork to other companies for. So having something like that is extremely valuable, and I wish I had it sooner. Right? But I feel like some things are best learned through experience. So that is just my spiel. And again, I'm not sponsored by the Guild. I no longer even work with the Guild, but I do recognize that they are an organization who truly do advocate for artists and creatives and making sure that everyone is sort of having a fair shot, right? And also having the resources and also having the advocacy and all of those things. So I know that they work hands-on with like lobbying and things like that for Congress, especially when it came to like the AI. I don't know what the progress is with it now, but but that is it is an organization that I like and have benefited from over the years. But okay, back to this. So we've talked my ears out. Now, Draw Sketchbook is in the building. I want to give her a shout out. When you guys have an opportunity, please go and check out her YouTube channel. So Draw Sketchbook, I'm so proud of you, and I have it here. I was hoping to see you, but if not, I was gonna get around to it anyway. But if you guys have an opportunity and you would like to support another artist who is sort of creating and putting themselves out there, please go by and check out Draw Sketchbook's YouTube channel, and I guess I could link it in the chat and pin it, but this is what it looks like. So if you go to youtube.com/@drawsketchbook, it'll come up to her YouTube channel. I'm so very proud of you, Draw Sketchbook, of all the progress that you're making. This is my favorite. The egg is so cute. So please do that. Please go and check out her channel. And I'm looking forward to seeing you grow as an artist and seeing you guys grow. So if you have a channel or anything like that you would like to share, and I would love to see it. So just let me know. You can email me, you can DM me. I would love to see you guys' art progress and see what you all are creating. I had some work that I saw from Joy. I always call it Joyfish. Goodness gracious. I hope you still go by Joyfish, because that's what I always call you by. Tala. Joyfish, I always call it Tala. Tala is her name, but Joyfish is her Instagram handle. I always call people by their Instagram handles for whatever reason, but I love her art, and so she was gracious enough to share some of her illustrations with me. That meant so much because I'm such a huge fan of hers. It was like, holy crap. And Draw Sketchbook says, thank you for the shout out. It is my pleasure, Draw Sketchbook. I thank you guys for being here. Like I said, it's just it warms my heart to have you guys here, right? So we can build our own little community of artists and people who are trying to grow and sort of explore art and be ourselves and be our authentic selves, and just sort of share with the world what it is that we create. And I love that you are sharing your process and sharing your art, and I'm just so proud of y'all. I'm so proud of y'all. But yeah, so please go check out Draw Sketchbook's YouTube channel if you have a chance. I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited to see what kind of art that you create. And so again, if you have something that you would like to share, you would like to have me share with you guys, if you'd like to come on and share your projects, let me know. I would absolutely love to make space for that. All right, let's get back to this hand. I keep saying it, but I ain't gonna do it. I ain't done it yet. Alrighty, so I think what I'm going to do with this hand, so I have the brightest highlights in. I'm just gonna add in a little bit of mid-tone here, and then we'll spread this out. Y'all know on these Sunday streams, I get to talking 90 miles an hour and I don't hardly get anything done. But again, it's been such a long doggone week. I'm really excited. Really just happy to be able to do this, right? Just to be able to come and shoot the breeze with you guys and talk to you about whatever. But I have so many goddamn stories. It didn't come to mind until last week when we were talking about the comic book conventions. I have experienced a lot. I think sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for what all we've sort of gone through and accomplished, and our everyday experiences. So stuff that I would take for granted. Once I got to talking about it, I was like, God dog, I've done a lot. So I want to see you guys sort of share your stories. And if you have questions about anything that I've done, if I have the information for you, I would love to share that with you. If I don't, we can learn it together, or I'll point you in the right direction. Again, there's lots of things in art as a creative, as a professional, as someone who's still trying to figure it out, right? That I just don't know, right? So I'm still learning. I'm still growing as a human being. I'll be 40 next year, so I'm excited for that. So I'll be able to, go into the next chapter willing to learn, right? I think sometimes we can kind of get in our heads about where we are in life, where we are in whatever journey we're on, right? Whether we're learning something new. Sometimes we can get a little impatient with ourselves. Sometimes we can kind of compare ourselves to other people. It could be difficult to keep your head up. And again, I've been all in my head this week. I've been all in my head. Just had a lot going on, But in the I fall victim to, comparing my art and my journey to other people. That happens. When I can kind of come out of it, that's how I can tell you guys don't do that. Right? Because I do it, and I know that it's not productive. And you have to just sort of recognize that you are where you are for a reason, and it's okay to be wherever you are in your journey. Whatever you're doing, right? It's okay. It's okay to be new. Everyone starts somewhere, and so I am in the process of putting myself in a new sort of industry, a little bit adjacent to what I'm doing currently. And so in that, I am learning a new skill, I guess, and putting myself out there. And I don't know why in the world I started looking at other people in the same realm. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can. And I just was tripping. Sometimes you'll do that. You'll talk yourself out of it, whatever. It's just fear, and then you kind of get into that fight or flight. But just be patient with yourself wherever you are in your journey. And, it's going to be all right, I believe. So, yeah, Draw Sketch was super proud of you, proud of myself, proud of all of us, whether you're here watching this live or the replay. I get so many beautiful messages from you guys and emails and things like that. And you sharing your art, you're sharing your stories, your books, and all of that. It's humbling, it's flattering, but I will say that you guys keep me going. Y'all keep me going for real. Because today, I was sitting here. I got up and I was like, you know what? I'm so tired because, again, I've had such a long week. I was like, I'm so tired. I really don't feel like streaming. I was like, you know what? That's what I enjoy to do. So sometimes you have to make time for the things that you enjoy doing, right? You don't have to do it live. I like to do it live. It kind of gets me out of my head and get to talk things out, because as I'm talking to you, I'm more often than not talking also to myself and talking myself through certain things. So yeah, anything I share with you guys, I share it from experience, because I've been there. I be all in my head, right? Too much sometimes. So sometimes you have to kind of get out of your head and do the thing that you're afraid of doing, or just sort of put yourself out there, or just try, you know what I mean? And just accept that failure is a part of life if it comes to that. And it may not. A lot of times we are creating scenarios in our minds. And once we do the thing that we were afraid was going to happen doesn't even happen. Right? So you just have to have patience with yourself, patience with your journey. And again, start to cut off stuff that just is not serving you or your best interest. Right? That's just kind of where I am in life. If I'm feeling like I'm putting in a position where there's chaos, or there's the stage for chaos, and I'm just kind of thrown into that, I ain't got no quips or qualms about removing myself from that situation. I really don't, because you have to sort of prioritize, and it becomes easy to do so. You have to prioritize the things that you feel are going to make your life easier and better. Sometimes there are growing pains, of course. Sometimes you'll have situations where you are uncomfortable, where you sort of have to go through that discomfort to get to wherever you're trying to go. Some things are just not necessary. Right? Some stuff you just don't have to deal with. And I think that being sort of in a space where you're busy, where you're sort of focusing on your goals, it becomes easy to pinpoint those things in your life, right? It's easy to say, okay, this over here is happening, and this feels like a little bit of a distraction, and this is not helping me at all. This is not sort of adding anything positive to my life. It's just let it go. It's easy to be like, I ain't got time for that. Let me refocus my attention over there. So that becomes a part of it. And as you do that, it becomes easier to become present in whatever it is you're doing, because you're just cutting out the distractions. Sometimes distraction can be good, especially when you get into your head. Like I've been, right? Sometimes a distraction is good, but sometimes a distraction can become a hindrance, especially when you're not being considered in that. So you just have to sort of refocus yourself, have patience with yourself, have patience with your life and your journey and all of those things, and just continue to move forward. So I don't know what's going on in the world, right? But as someone who is sensitive to certain things and sensitive to I don't want to be woo-woo about it, but just sensitive to different energies and stuff like that, I can feel a change in the air. I can feel sort of things moving and shifting and all of that. And so in that, it's important for me to just be present, to just sort of lean into people like you guys who are in the chat, who come and share and do all of those things, because it feels good to have those experiences. It feels good to share. It feels good to grow. It feels good sometimes to have growing pains, but if you can have those in an environment where we're all sort of nurturing each other, we're all sort of building with each other, that feels great. Right? So sometimes you have to shift your focus to what does feel good, and then you can better or better equipped to deal with the things that don't. So I just turned off my sketch to kind of see what this hand is looking like. Sometimes with the sketch on, it becomes very difficult to kind of see where we are because there are dark lines and it can give us a little bit of a false read. But so far I can make out the fingers. They're not great, right? But I can make them out, so that means that we're heading in the right direction. If not, then we can always tweak and do what we need to do as we adjust this drawing. Anytime I'm drawing, I'm not reaching for perfection. So like I showed you guys that sketch, and I'm gonna show it again because I'm real proud of it. But when I was drawing this sketch yesterday, and I was working on this figure, let's see if it'll come up. I wasn't necessarily reaching for perfection, which is why I like the technique that I used, because the technique that I used to draw this particular portrait did not focus on you don't focus on details right away. Generally, when I am working on a portrait, I am sort of focused on details, but in a slightly broader sense. So I'll lay down like my lines where my eyes are, where my nose is, where my chin, and all of that. And then I'll immediately begin to draw in the shapes for the eyes or the shapes for the nose. But the way that I constructed that sketch was a technique, and I don't know if it has a name. I'm pretty sure it does. But the way that I did that was that, let's say, I'll show you real quick. So the way that you work this out, it's like this. Let's see, let's go gray because it'll be easier. So let's say, for instance, we're drawing this portrait. Let's say we're drawing this guy, right? The way that we would approach it is we could lay down sort of the guideline for the middle of his face, sort of like here, and we can sort of lay in where his eyes fall on this line. It could be halfway or whatever. I do it a little bit. I do it maybe a third of the way down because we're going to break this up. From there, what I'll do is I'll sort of make a block just like this where the eye socket is, right? I'm not looking for shape or anything like that. Just sort of making a block. From here, I'll say, okay, the nose seems to be, or the nose shadow seems to be pointing down like so. So I'll add in my nose shadow. I'll say, okay, the mouth is open, but generally there's a line in between the mouth. So I kind of put that line where it needs to go. It's going to drop down lower than it would normally because it's open. And then from there, there's a shadow under the lip, and then the chin kind of comes down like this. And so that's kind of how I would start that portrait. From here, I will say, okay, let me break out some more of these shadows. So I'm noticing there's a thicker shadow here. Then I will go in, add in the eyebrows and things like that. I may begin to draw in like the pupils. The pupils seem to be sort of sitting right here. I'm not adding details. I'm just sort of, or I guess I am, but not necessarily fine details. I'm just sort of adding in shapes, right? Based on the darkness, looking in terms of shadow. So I see this eye kind of looks like it's here, something like this. And his nose seems to follow something like this, right? And I'm just adding in these shapes. And eventually what will happen is I will begin to fill in all of the details, but you build them up, right? And so that's how I did that sketch. And I like that because, again, it was very relaxing, but it just sort of took out the pressure of trying to get it perfect. So anytime I am drawing, and you guys will hear me say this quite a lot, I'm not necessarily reaching for perfection out the gate, right? Because I know that I can build on top of it. I can build on top of it. Now, with this particular drawing, the advantage of digital art is, of course, that you have layers. For this one, I approached it very much like a sketchbook. For the black and white sketch that I just showed, I approached it very much like I would a sketchbook. I didn't lean into layers. I don't even think I used layers at all until I got ready to draw on top of it because I wanted to tweak the face for the other thing that I have planned for it. But I just did it all in one time. If I use my eraser and I use my pencil, I darkened and I shaded in lightly and moved things around. But with the layers, we kind of can work on things and we have a little more room for error. I just wanted it to feel like I was drawing in my sketchbook again. Again, I'm really excited with the way that they turned out. So I'm going to turn my sketch back on here. I may lower the opacity so that it's not shining through so much and we can kind of see a little bit more of the hand underneath. So right now I have it set at 32%. I'm going to lower the opacity to about 20. Let me go a little bit lower. That feels good. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, it's been an adventurous week. To say the least, it's been an adventurous week. We had did some photography yesterday, so that was a whole lot of fun. Found that there is a photography club here in Memphis. There are a couple of them, and so we went to one of the meetings, my son and I, and we went and took some pictures in the park outside of photography club because they didn't end the club meeting. So we went and took some pictures. And photography is one of those things I think it's a hobby, I would say. I don't think I'm a serious photographer or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but any of like my product photos and things like that, I just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I have never, I don't think, photographed like people, but we'll go out and do like nature photographs, things like that. Like I have an old film camera that I take out, that I love the look of. Film is one of those things that I really like. Right, so I just bought a film camera forever ago. It's a Canon 81 program, and so back then when I did buy, I think my son was like 3. He's 14 now, so I think he was three or 4 when I bought that camera. But it used to be that you could easily find film relatively inexpensive because it wasn't something that people were keeping up with. But now people are like getting back into film, so it's a little bit more difficult to do that. But it is you're finding more information about how to sort of develop it as people get into it. More information comes out, so it's a little bit of a win-win for everyone. But I love shooting in film. It's just fun. Right, you have that old like the wind and click sound to it. Is really neat. So we went and did that yesterday, so that was a lot of fun. Again, fall is my favorite time of the year, so just to be able to go out and capture like the colors and the fallen leaves and all of that, it's a lot of fun. So you have to sort of make time for things that you enjoy, whether it's the art. For me, because art is my business, it depends on what I'm working on. So for instance, I don't sit down and work on the Cosmic Gateways Tarot as a part of fun, even though I do enjoy it. I think being able to work on like that sketch, that was fun for me. That was just me sitting down, relaxing and drawing. Being able to go out and take pictures in the fall and capture that with my kid, that was fun, right? So you have to sort of find ways to have fun and enjoy yourself and sort of lean into your passions. And I've heard that when you do that, you sort of find your purpose. It'll lead you to your purpose. But what it will do outside of that, it'll sort of balance out life. As things become hectic, as trials and tribulations come through, as victories come through, right? Having something that is consistent for you, that you do, that you genuinely enjoy, helps out a whole lot, right? Gives you something to be grateful for, helps you to show gratitude on a daily basis. I think it's wonderful, but don't busy yourself too much, right? Just sort of find that balance. So right now it's auto saving. I'll show you guys really quickly what this project looks like, because I don't think we've looked at it today, and I still ain't updated this. Still ain't updated this presentation. I will one day. Maybe I'll work on that after this stream, and I'll sort of add in some of the newer cards that we've done, because I don't think this is even 30 of them. It might be. I'm not really sure. But we have 42 cards completed for this deck. It is going to be 78 cards. Still have a long way to go, but we have mostly all numbers. I have the aces left to do and the kings for the minor arcanas, and then for the major arcana cards, I have the sun, moon, star, and the chariot. So those are the last 4. I have no idea when this will be done, but I am enjoying sort of being able to take my time with it. I used to rush myself, and y'all hear me say this a lot. I used to rush myself. And I think a lot of that came down to me comparing my sort of process to other people. But I find that not rushing myself, for one, is a lot less, I feel a lot less resistance to it. And it feels better. And I'm able to really take my time with it and get to show you guys more of the behind the scenes process to it, as we sort of make our way through experiencing a new technology with AI. I think I value being able to show you guys that I'm actually creating this, right? But I just like to be able to show it to you anyway, because I feel like this is a testament of leaning into a dream, making the time for a dream project, regardless to how long it takes me to do. I just found out that Guillermo del Toro wanted to do Frankenstein when he's 11. He's 61 now, just able to make it. So I feel like persistence and consistency is key. I think that, again, we've sort of conditioned ourselves to be used to instant gratification, but some things just take time, right? Some things take time, and as you sort of work through these things as they take time, in my case, as it has taken quite a few years to get through to this point, I've seen so many things change, right? Seen so many things change. I've been able to sort of pick out patterns and things when it comes to this particular medium and this particular type of project. So I do value the fact that it's taking me a minute, right? There are some days when it's like, I wish I could be further along, but at the same time, I'm glad that I have the time. I really do feel like it is a blessing for me to be able to take my time and get it done. But buddy, when it do get done, I'm gonna go, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. We might have to have a party or something on this stream when I finish that very last card. So I have 36 cards left to do. I guess 35 after this one. So I have 36 cards left to do. So I'm really excited about that. Again, I have all of the aces left. And then everything from 5 to 10 left. And then I have all of the kings left to do for the minor arcanas. And then I have only 4 more major arcana cards. Now, when I began this, I worked primarily, pretty exclusively on the major arcana cards until I got to a point where it was like, you know what? I'm doing this, but maybe I should kind of, for one, I got stuck. But also I was like, maybe I should kind of start working on the minor arcana cards so that I make sure that everything's cohesive. Because the major arcanas are like really magical and mystical. And all of that puts so much like lore and just special things into those major arcana cards, but I didn't want to get to a point where it's like the minors don't necessarily fit. So I'm able to go back and forth, which is one of the reasons why I took so long, taking such a long time completing this particular card, because I got to looking around. Right? I started to look at all of my majors, and I started to look at all of the minors that I had done. And I believe earlier on in the minor arcana journey, which started with the queens, went from the queens to the knights, and then so on and so forth. I started to notice as I moved forward, I was getting a little, I ain't gonna say lazy, but I wasn't taking as much time with like the scenery, right? Whereas with the major arcanas, most notably with like the Hermit, the Lovers, there are a couple others that have really, really beautiful like drawn out scenery, right? When it came to the minors, I was starting to take some shortcuts, and I think that's okay, but I wanted to make sure that some of the minor arcana cards also had like that really nice, like well done scenery, so that there's balance, right? So there's going to be cards that are super fleshed out, and there's cards that don't really require that'll come together a lot faster. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Right? Just sort of, this is one of those things. This is the longest I've ever worked on a project. So it's been 6 years. It was 6 years in November. This is the absolute longest. It's also the largest project I've ever undertaken. So even with children's books that I've done, even with the comic book that I did last year, comic book covers, all of that, not last year, 2023, but all of the things that I've done, this is by far the largest project that I've undertaken that's not in, like, I'm not working with someone else on, right? So when we're doing children's book, there's the author or whoever's hiring me to do their children's book that I have to work with. So we're bouncing ideas off of each other, and they can say, hey, this is the manuscript, and I can say, okay, well, hey, based on this manuscript and your description of the characters, this is what I think it should look like. And so we're working together. There's a lot of collaboration, but in this particular project, it's just me, right? So oftentimes I'll get stuck. One of the reasons why we've been working on this particular card on Sundays is because I have not prepared the next set of cards, right? So that happens, but I feel like a little bit of progress, just a little bit, each and every day, it's going to make a big difference. So at some point, probably here soon, I'll sit down and get the next set of cards together. I probably need to work on that this week. But at some point we'll work on a new card. But for the time being, I can take my time with the four of wands because I'm not prepared to move forward. And it'll sort of, again, add that balance between cards where the trees and things are not necessarily super detailed and ones that have detailed trees. So it's working out real well. But I think I'm going to call it a stream. We've been here for about 50 something minutes or so. So if you are just now joining us, don't forget to hit the like button. Whether you're watching this live or the replay, I certainly appreciate you for being here. there. Be sure to go check out Draw Sketchbook's YouTube channel. She's done wonderful work. She sent me, I hope I can tell it, but I'm going to tell it. Sent me a really, really cool pattern or set of patterns that she's been working on. So I'm super impressed with that. Super proud of you and your journey, Draw Sketchbook. And I'm really excited to see how you progress. If you have a channel or you have a project or anything like that that you're working on that you would like to share with me, I would love to hear about it. Like, again, I'm so inspired by you guys. You guys keep me going. And I really do appreciate from the bottom of my heart each and every one of y'all for showing up for these live streams because you make it worthwhile. And I appreciate you for letting me talk to you 90 miles an hour as we talk about who knows what. But I thank you so, so much. Something else that you guys can do, I am working towards 1,000 subscribers. I've never really had that goal up until this year. Up to this year, I was like, you know what, it just whatever comes. But I was like, it would be kind of cool to get to that point. I started this channel in 2013, so I have not gotten to 1,000 yet. And most of that's just been kind of inconsistent posting throughout the years. And life happens, you know, it's all good. But if you like these kinds of live creation videos and you like to watch me live or create any other art videos, please do hit that subscribe button. Help me get to 1,000. We're super excited about that. And also, if you like the art that I create, there are going to be links down in the description for how you can get a piece for yourself, especially before the holidays, because shipping it gets a little wonky around December or so. So if you like the art that I created, I have a whole shop. All of that's down in the description. So without further ado, I hope that you all have a happy, creative, and prosperous week. Peace.